Americans have been struggling to pay for housing costs. In July 2020, an estimated 32% of Americans missed a rent or mortgage payment. That was up from 24% in April, 31% in May, and 30% in June. This trend is worrying experts that a wave of evictions may be coming once local, state, and federal moratoria on forced removals expire.
An eviction can be one of the most emotionally traumatizing experiences that a family has ever had. They first receive a notice on the door that they're going to be evicted, that the sheriff will be coming in a matter of days. And then if they don't leave on their own accord, the sheriff comes in and their belongings are forcibly removed from the home. This is usually happening while children and family members are standing by and watching.
Quentin Coleman, a DJ and musician, lives with his girlfriend, Daru Chisal, a software engineer in New Orleans. They haven't been able to work since the pandemic started and were late on July's rent, so their landlord had them evicted.
I just can't believe they don't have like a system for stuff like this when it happens. Like rent should be froze. And keep in mind, we still have electric, water, and stuff that we have to pay. That those bills are also piling up. Landlord was basically like, yeah, they've been expecting this. They know what's going on. And then I raised my hand. I was like, actually, can I speak? Nobody expected a pandemic.
Tone matters. Remember this from 2007, Alec Baldwin's message to his daughter? People were so upset, he had to publicly apologize.
You have insulted me. You don't have the brains or the decency as a human being. I don't give a damn that you're 12 years old or 11 years old or that you're a child.
After reading the room, the tenor of our country, here's the tone that Nancy Pelosi and Donald Trump think is appropriate. Trump says he has instructed his representatives to halt talks and calls on the Senate Republicans to instead focus on confirming Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett. Who are his representatives? What the hell is he talking about?
People say to me, in all these bills, you try to correct so many problems. You can't do it all. I said, I'm not doing it all, but I'm not going to make matters worse. But what we do have to do is focus our attention on winning the election. And the president made that. When he wins the election, we're going to write a new bill. Oh, really? What election would that be? We don't take anything for granted. We assume nothing. We don't agonize over what he's thinking, so-called. We don't agonize, we organize. So let's not waste our time on this. Let's look forward. Let's not waste our time on this. Let's look forward. Let's not waste our time on this. Let's look forward. Let's not waste our time on this. Let's look forward.
Is something wrong with our president? Fair question. Seems like that was the case before he caught the 2020 plague. But Madam Speaker, I have the same question about you. Good morning. Sunday morning.
Out of your quiver, you're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. We have a responsibility. We take an oath to protect and defend.
So now that we've established that 80-year-old Nancy Pelosi and 74-year-old Donald Trump both have something wrong with them, does this tone regarding people's lives, their financial hardship during one of the most difficult times in our country, does it sound like Trump and Pelosi have care and respect? Does it sound to you that either Nancy Pelosi or Donald Trump care about those in need right now? This should have been an easy negotiation where both the red cult leader and the blue cult leader could go back to their mindless cult followers and say, hey, we got to win. We passed stimulus. The other side had to bend to us. And they both could have said the same thing no matter what was passed. Instead, they can no longer hide their morally repugnant, cruel, obscene, inhumane, and heartless actions. There is an economic argument against whether further stimulus relief is needed or beneficial. Our economy is going to bounce back with or without stimulus. The question is how long and how hard are those low dips going to be? To their credit, Rand Paul and Ted Cruz, while cold and heartless, they at least have the respect to make their case for that to the American people, instead of hiding it behind rhetoric and nonsense they at least are making their economic, fiscally responsible case for not having a second stimulus or a very large second stimulus. For me, it's obvious we need more help. You don't need to be an economist to figure that out. But don't take my word for it. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is practically on his knees begging Congress to prop up the recovery. A second wave of coronavirus could more significantly limit economic activity, not to mention the tragic effects on lives and well-being. Speaking at an economic conference, Powell said that the risks of doing too little far outweigh the consequences of overdoing it on economic relief. Chairman Powell knows the historic moment that we're in, and he wants to be on record on the right side of history. When it comes to economics, I'm going to trust Jerome Powell, who wants to be on the right side of history, over politicians who play games, even intelligent ones like Rand Paul and Ted Cruz. What we've lost as Americans is these politicians are sent to D.C. to come back with results, not gridlock, not name calling. You guys aren't funny. Don't leave the name calling up to the comedians. We're expecting you to come back with results and to make your case as to why this was a good deal or why we went this route, not gridlock. And people don't question or challenge both parties equally. It doesn't matter who you're going to vote for. You've got to vote for someone. But who is your priority? Is your priority the politicians, or is the priority what's best for our country? If you're not going to challenge both parties equally, even when you fall on hard times, that's a rough go. Literally, people are getting evicted, furloughed, laid off, small businesses closing down. You may not have a home, a job, or a business anymore. But Democrats and Republicans are still looking for that vote, aren't they?
Let's not waste our time on this. Let's look forward.
They couldn't give less than a damn if you don't have your business, your job. All they'll do is say, blame the other guy. It's the other guy's fault why you don't have anything. And you go, yeah, and vote for them. The negotiations aren't over. We know that if Nancy Pelosi and Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell and all of Congress, if they were serious about passing something, they could pass a series of 10 separate bills covering everything from bailing out the airline industry to literally just a separate bill to send out checks to the American people. They could do that like this. They've already agreed upon most of that, those things. Here's what lies in the balance, though. If their political gamesmanship ends up in no bill passing, and then the likelihood, if no bill passes before November, it wouldn't be until middle of January, end of January, until one was passed. Here's what lies in the balance. Less unemployment pay means less money for people to spend on goods, to pay bills. No small business aid. Already, 100,000 small businesses have permanently closed due to the pandemic. How many more would have to close? Housing. We are in the midst of an eviction and foreclosure crisis. The Federal Housing Administration announced that they extended their foreclosure and eviction moratorium through December 31st. What we have on the other end of that is January's coming. So, as I just mentioned, if it doesn't happen before November, it's not going to happen probably, most likely, until after January, mid-January, probably at the earliest. More likely, I would think, end of January. But by January 1st, renters in the United States will owe up to $34 billion in past due rent payments. That's just rent, not the mortgage. Let me say that one more time. $34 billion in past due rent payments by the time eviction moratorium ends. Southwest Airlines wants workers to take pay cuts to avoid furloughs. The airlines already gave a deadline to Congress of October 1st, and they have already started the process of laying off flight attendants, pilots, on-the-ground airline workers, furloughed and laid off. When workers are laid off, they also won't get the Medicaid and COBRA benefits that were built into this package. I see the tide turning slowly. And the market in the middle is going to get a little bit more crowded. Thanks for watching.